Hey guys, Mike the Vike here, back for yet another video. So, for those of you that don't know, I run a Rust server, and I've been running it for a little over 2 years now. So, I probably get about 500 messages in a week, all asking me, why is my server so laggy? And it gets very frustrating having to re-explain this every single time. First thing we're going to discuss, why do servers in Rust get laggy? There's two main things, okay? Number one is player population, and number two is entity count. Entities is basically when someone builds a house in Rust, it's gonna take up a certain amount of entities. As you can imagine, the more players you have on a server, the more entities there's going to be. The higher the entity count, the more laggy the server is going to get. My server is a modded server. It's 2 times gather. It has VIP kits. So I've made these drastic changes on the game, and because of that, people are able to get those entity counts much higher than you would be able to on a vanilla server. It's very frustrating when people say, oh, how come Rustified Vanilla has 300 players and doesn't lag as much as your server does? That's because they're vanilla, they don't have kits, their players have to work much harder to increase the entity count like you can on my server. Number one response I get is, well, Mike, you idiot, just go around removing bases. The problem is, the bases that use the most entities are, of course, the big massive bases, i.e., the ones that don't get rated, i.e., I can't remove them. So, yes, I have gone around, I've spent 6 hours once removing little 2x2s, 4x4s, little bases everywhere. Those are not the issue. I remember I spent 6 hours, literally in a day, and I reduced the entity count by 20k, maybe 30k entities. Then you know what happens? The next day I log back on, I had removed 20k entities, and there's already 60k more entities on the map. And just to put that into perspective, I wiped my server on May 25th, Thursday, and on Monday, May 29th, we are already at 400,000 entities, okay? So clearly, 20 to 30k entities is nothing. Like, that is not going to make a difference at all in the lag department. Oh, what about Purge, that Oxide plugin that deletes inactive bases? My players are too active for that to be effective. If I make it 24 hours, like if they're inactive for 24 hours, that removes way too many like that were actually active. If I set it to 48 hours, almost no bases get rated because people usually log back on. Next one, server specs. Oh, Mike, you make all this money, but you don't upgrade your stupid server, and you obviously that would make the server a million times better. Let me tell you, my server is stupidly overkill. For a little single modded server, it is so unnecessary. It doesn't really have to do with server specs, it has to do with the engine or the core of the game. I'm certainly not very familiar with it, but just from what I can see on my CPU usage and stuff, clearly the game is not using my hardware to its fullest potential. I would love if the game took advantage of the power that I have, but it just doesn't use it. And because of that, I kind of feel like the game is bottlenecking the specs that I have. You can't just download more RAM and call it a day. Next spammy question. Mike, just restart the server every 2 hours. No, senor. Restarts are very, you don't really need to do restarts as often as people think. The main reason you might have to do a restart is like a memory leak, but that takes a super long time to actually amount to anything. I'm pretty sure that's pretty much solved. That's out of the question. There's not really any memory leaks. Mike, what can you do? Is there anything you can do? There's a couple things I can do, but it's very difficult to do them. The number one solution on my specific server would be to nerf the VIP kits that I offer. Basically, the way my kits work is you get free wood and stone to use on the server immediately. So once you pay the money, you're given the wood and stone, and you can make your base big. Instead of having to go and farm that material, they just get it instantly. So as you can see, there's a bit of a problem there. The thing you have to remember here is there are a lot of people that have spent a lot of money, and they would be very, very upset if I started taking away things that they paid for, right? So this is where things get tricky. I will say I have reduced significantly the amount of materials in kits, like by 50% on the higher end kits. So I've definitely made a big difference, but it's clearly not enough. it's something that I can't just do instantly. It has to be done gradually and over time, and that is already underway. We've been doing things almost every week to try to reduce the VIP kits. Next thing that could be done is to reduce the player pop, the max player slots on the server. The issue with that is I don't know why, but when I set it to 200 max players, it's like literally dead server. Like it's like 150 all the time instead of 200 full. So it's kind of like you either lower to 200 and have a dead server, or bump it to 250 and have like this super way too packed server. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to make a commentary explaining lag in the game. I firstly may be totally incorrect on some of these things. These are just my personal observations after having run the server for over 2 years now. And hopefully this was helpful for anybody upset at whatever server owner they play on. It may not be that guy's fault. It's kind of just the circumstances he's in. Anyways, that's all I got for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.